one thing about Marilyn is that she always sought to better herself. Now, look at this photo. This is Norma Jean Marilyn and her first husband. His name was Jim Doherty. They married when she was 16 years old, just a few weeks after her 16th birthday. And I believe that Jim was 21, so, a bit of an age gap there. But this marriage was encouraged by Marilyn's, Norma Jean's, Aunt Grace Goddard, who was really the most permanent and stable person in her life. And she was often her legal guardian as well. So she had a lot of influence over Norma Jean's life. And at this time, around when she was 16, Grace and her family were going to be moving away, and they couldn't afford, and maybe more reasons than couldn't afford. But that's a long story, which I will get into another time, believe me. But suffice to say, Norma Jean wasn't able to come with them on the move. So Grace said, "Now, Norma, you are 16, and you're a very mature young lady, and how about getting married? That Jimmy who lives next door is a very nice boy," which he was a very nice young man. But still, we can see there was a big problem with this, wasn't there? She didn't want to go back to the orphanage. And she wanted stability in her life, and she wanted acceptance and love in her life. And for a young girl growing up in the 40s, we can just imagine marriage seemed like such an ideal way of getting these things, of really coming into oneself, of finding purpose and finding a sense of self-worth through union with a man. And we know that she aspired to have children as well, and that's something that never happened. So young. Our beloved Aunt Anna, not a biological aunt, but a lovely older woman who had a huge influence in her life, made her that wedding dress. Oh, wow. Now this picture is so 1940s. Everything from the hair to the outfit. I like this quote. "No one ever told me I was pretty when I was a little girl. All little girls should be told they are pretty, even if they aren't." But of course, a very pretty little girl. And I like that. I think that we do need to be kind to children. We need to let them know that they are seen. And for little girls, and especially at this time, to be told they're pretty, that would mean so much. It still does mean so much, doesn't it? It does. We all want to be valued, to be seen, and not just for our outside appearances either, which is unfortunately a bit of a trap that Norma Jean Marilyn fell into in her life and really worked to get out of. She didn't want to be seen just for her body, for her outer shell. She wanted to be seen for who she was inside, the radiant, beautiful spirit and soul that she had, which I think really comes through in this photo. So this is one of the first photos that was ever taken of Norma Jean, and it was when she was working at the radio plane company during World War II. And she worked long hours in, I remember it was called the dope room. And this must be, I don't know, maybe 45, 46, 1945, 46. And an army photographer was coming by around the factory, taking pictures of the girls for morale boosting shots. And he thought that Norma Jean could really boost some morale. All right, look how cute. These are some Andre photos. Again, you remember this from Memories of Marilyn? Here are some of the other poses. And I think this is tremendous. Okay, 45. So yeah, this must have been about 44, 45. Because by this time she had been accepted into the modeling agency. Emmeline Snively, who is the head of Blue Book Models, is the one who introduced Norma Jean to Andre de Diennes. Look at all of these poses. She started here, 1945. She was just so good at coming up with creative ways to pose, but so photogenic. And her name became a legend. Yes, it did. Some more early photos. Very farm girl, isn't it? Definitely not, not exactly the image that comes to mind when we think of Marilyn Monroe. Though, of course, at this time, she was not Marilyn Monroe yet. She was still going by Norma Jean, or sometimes Jean Norman. She really liked that name as well. I've always thought these ones were so cute. Pumpkin patch. Look at those boots. I just love it. Very outdoorsy, which she really was. I read sometimes that, you know, it's been said that Norma Jean wasn't very comfortable outside. Marilyn, actually, all of her life loved nature, loved to be outside, loved to do outdoor activities, and she was an adventurer, for sure. This photo she gifted to Emmeline Snively, again the head of Blue Book Modeling Agency. And Mrs. Snively kept this photo framed at her desk for, I believe, her entire life. I love these. More Andre. He took a lot of photos of her at the beach. She loved the water, felt an affinity with the ocean. That just makes me laugh. The sailor hat, the starfish. Look at the two different prints going on. Models had to often bring and provide their own clothing. So you'll see sometimes she's wearing a lot of the same things again and again because she didn't have a lot of money. So she had to repurpose her clothes. For instance, this red sweater shows up on a lot of photos. These are some magazine covers. Personal romances.